I'm very, very proud and happy to present to you the nominees for Healthcare Heroes Awards here on Only My Health. And today we're looking at the category of COVID heroes. So please welcome our first nominee, Akhila Yadav. She is the 24-year-old Sarpanch from Madanapuram village in Telangana. And, she has been all over the news, a Latin hand, mask on her face, and she is ensuring that her village borders are sealed. So happy to have you here, Akhila.
Thank you. Thank you so much for giving this wonderful opportunity.
Also welcome our next nominee, Dr. Binish Desai. He is an innovator, a scientist, and he has taken in account all the medical waste that is being generated during this pandemic. Gloves, PPE kits, and everything else that you can imagine. He's converting that into bricks. So very, very happy to have you on board on the nominee list as well. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this opportunity here.
And please do welcome Ruben Mascarenhas, who is leading forth. He is started an initiative called Khana Chahiye, which really in itself explains the initiative. He is feeding the hungry in the midst of this pandemic amongst the migrant exodus. Ruben is taking care that nobody goes hungry on the street. So fantastic work, Ruben, and we're going to talk a lot more in detail about the work that you're doing, but so happy and proud to have you on the nominee list.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think it's a privilege to be here.
We also have two more people joining us, and as they join in, I will introduce them to you. These are young boys who are also in the category of COVID heroes. We'll tell you how their initiative, COVID Fit Club, is ensuring that we remain fit in this pandemic and don't become couch potatoes. And they're also taking all the money that they're generating through their initiative and channelizing it into COVID funds. So first, let me start with the woman on the panel with us, Akhila. Tell me, what was the need? Why did you think that it was important that you physically had to go and man the borders? I mean, there was no other way to do it.
My village people, we were able to convince them to follow the lockdown rules. But problem came is, in my village, major number of the people have the business of selling the toddy. You have idea about the toddy, right? Yes.
Yeah.
As the wine shops were closed, there was a huge demand to the toddy. And we observed people from different village, Hyderabad, who were coming to buy the toddy. So in order to stop them, I did not find any option rather than blocking the way, rather than stopping the people at the entrance itself.
You know, Dr. Desai, this, like I said, is one of the aspects of the pandemic that we possibly would have thought about, later. That let us save life first, let us do the testing first, let us, achieve the plateau in the curve and then look at the aftermath. But you are looking at it right now. What inspired this thought? And talk to us about how you are converting all of this waste into something usable.
So actually, while everyone was in the lockdown, the first thing that came in my mind was the use of PPE and how they were being discarded. So me being an I have eco anxiety. So the first thing that I see is the waste that is generated. So I started thinking, what is going to happen to all these things going into the landfills, especially the face mask, non-woven fabrics that was ending up into the oceans. When I started working along with the material, and I decided that, okay, this needs to have some commercially viable product, because then only we'll be able to recycle this particular new pollution on a very large scale. And that's how the Brick 2.0 came into existence.
So you converted all of that medical waste into a brick. And now just tell us what you do with this brick. What happens to this brick?
Yes, so these Brick 2.0 are actually being used to make toilets, houses, eco schools, hotels, resorts, everything that you can think of. And it's a direct replacement of the red brick, the conventional red brick. And that's exactly how we are perceiving it. It's not just environment friendly, that's just one aspect of it, but it's also economically viable because each brick is twice the size and it only costs 2.8 rupees.
Let me go across to Ruben Mascarenhas. Ruben, Khana Chahiye, this this is almost like a call to action, and really sort of really brings even the emotional aspect of this. So many out on the streets fighting a pandemic, but also fighting hunger.
So, when the lockdown was announced, we were getting a lot of information about people going hungry. And while I started it, I started it with a few of my close friends. We decided that this is a problem which is very much solvable. So we married demand and supply, raised funds, created a campaign, and we started off on 29th of March on the Western Express Highway, which is one of Mumbai's arterial roads, 1,200 meals. And over a period of time till date, we have served over 4.7 million, that is 47 lakh meals, and ration to about 20,000 families for approximately 4 months. If you actually see the way we've evolved, when we started off, we started on Mumbai's arterial roads, the Western Express Highway, the Eastern Express Highway, the Link Road, SV Road, LBS Road, and etc. And then you had slum pockets added to it, the migrant workers walking on the roads, which was a complete heart-wrenching scene. We ensured that at every transit point, we actually have a relief operation where we ensure that they at least had food to eat, they had water, they had some fruits, so that they are at least able to at least feed themselves while they're on their journey. When the Shramik train started, we adopted 3 of Mumbai's terminuses: the VT terminus, the CST terminus, the Kurla terminus, and the Bandra terminus. There were 284 trains, and there were over 6.5 lakh passengers that left Mumbai. We ensured that every passenger getting into that Shramik train has food, water, a mask, sanitizer, and fruits enough for the train journey.
I'll circle back to Akhila. Akhila, I was going to ask you that, you are the sarpanch of your village. So obviously you do command a little bit of authority, a little bit or a lot of authority in the village. But when you are standing out, protecting and guarding the borders of your village, and there are toddy, hungry people wanting to come in, what is the sort of dynamics there? Was it easy to control them? Was it, was your word enough?
On the first day, people used to question me, who are you to stop? When I introduced myself, I'm Sarpanch. Then they are like, okay, few people, we were able to convince them. It's being Sarpanch, it's our responsibility to bring awareness among the people, first of all, about the virus and about the pandemic situation. A few people, we were able to manage them easily, and definitely a few people will oppose us. They will join with our argument. For them, it was a little headache, but however, we were able to manage them. And being women, yes, people would question me. And however, for few, we warned them about the legal actions in this way. And after 2 days, after news went viral, people used to recognize me. You are the Akhila, right? You are not allowing to your village, right? In this way, people recognized me. And however, we were successful in that. And till now, there is no case in our village. And I feel very happy and I feel very blessed. So in this way, it went.
So no COVID positive cases in your village?
No.
Fantastic work. That is fantastic, Akhila. Brilliant. And what did you expect Prime Minister Modi taking your name in Mann Ki Baat and recognizing the effort that you were doing? Did you know that? And how has life changed after that?
Yeah, that was really surprised me, and I did not even believe when my friends forwarded that tweet. I did not check first. I did. It was a little shock for me. Mann Ki Baat means it almost a Prime Minister sir office means. I'm very happy at the same time. Along with my name, my village name went to Modi sir office. So it makes me very happy. And my parents were very, very proud about that. And obviously the respect, the confidence on me was changed completely to my village people also.
Dr. Desai, this, obviously you're dealing with medical waste, and this is COVID-19 that we're talking about, with exceptional rate of infection and spread. wasn't there any fear that, you are just going into the lion's den, you're inviting trouble?
Initially, absolutely that, but especially with COVID-19, although there was a fear, but initially when I started working along with the guidelines of Central Pollution Control Board (CPCB). But in this entire journey, we are ensuring very much safety of not just ourselves, but also the people involved, the volunteers involved. So we are using the PPE kits ourselves and then recycling them later on in our own premises.
I wanted to know about the challenges because, just the scope of things. There were so many people, and now when we are looking at retrospectively, even the government doesn't have records of how many people were, out on the streets, the migrants who travel from one city to another. How do you make sense of all of this?
When I started off, right, everybody told me that this is not how it can be done. We didn't have experience when it came to food production. We learned things on the way. We got more partners, a team grew. We have 150 plus volunteers who essentially largely responded to a call over the internet in terms of mobilization. Like at our peak, we were serving 1 lakh meals a day. On an average, we would serve anywhere between 50,000 to 70,000 meals. I mean, even that, even in a non-COVID, non-pandemic, normal time is itself a big number. So to do that during COVID, when you have a problem sourcing supplies, you have a problem getting a kitchen activated, you have a problem getting staff activated. This was a time that you actually had the police literally cracking down on anyone who was basically going there for any other non-emergency work. And then the entire definition of what is an emergency, what is not an emergency, is food distribution a legit thing? Are you doing the right thing? Will you basically end up spreading the situation? I mean, spreading COVID and worsening the situation than it already is. So all of these were questions at that time. So yes, these were challenges. It's essentially a long fight for which we need to conserve our energies, for which we need to fight smartly.
Let me also bring into the conversation our two youngsters, Rohan and Akash. Rohan, we've caught you after school. So you guys are still in school, but, motivated enough to make a difference and join in the fight to beat the effects of COVID. What do your parents and your friends say? Aren't you too young to be, thinking about these matters?
So I think, initially, like for me, I'm a national level squash player, so I would travel around for tournaments. Everything came to a stop because of the lockdown.
Yeah.
Exams came to a stop. So, I mean, personally for me, more than it was an issue, more than it was a pandemic, like COVID-19 pandemic, it was also more of a mental pandemic. Like I would see my friends waking up late. There's no structure in their life, Netflix all the time. Kids are like, what's the future? Like I was questioning the future. And I mean, being like, if you're 5, 6 years old, you don't even know what's going on. So it started off very small with just like, let's have a few classes for free. We had started with 10 kids in a class. After 5 days, someone asked us, are you going to be charging for the classes? So we were like, okay, might as well charge a small nominal fee or start doing something minor, something like that. And I mean, within a week, we had around like 30 to 40 people who were interested. Growing, it kept growing and growing. So I mean, in a sense, COVID Fit Club is it's a real, not only is it a fitness platform, but it also is a sense of a community during COVID times, because you have 5, 6, 7-year-olds hanging around together all around the world, which you don't really have time for that otherwise. And coming to your question about being too young to do this, I mean, obviously there was a sense of, hey, you're too like there's no chance to scale this, and stuff like that. But I think like for me personally, the real test of whatever you do in school, all the knowledge that you acquire is actually integrating it into your real life. And how do you make this in a sense of a business or a non-profit that raises as much money as you can? So that's essentially what we model. We've actually taken what we've learned in school and what we are learning in school to actually implement that into the real world. So how do you use operations, marketing to get as many clients as you can, to raise as much money for charity? And we are like a two-way function, because we do benefit the mental health and physical health of a lot of students who join our classes. But on the other hand, we do donate to charity and donate to Barefoot College and Minty Cafe as well. So we've raised over around 5.5 lakhs till date, which is quite a lump sum.
Yeah. And Akhila, I'm going to wrap up this conversation wishing you the best of luck, and I really hope and pray that your village and your district remains safe, and that you keep doing the work that you're doing. You keep inspiring the many, many young girls who are looking up to you. Your final message and just a thought on being nominated for the awards. We'd love to hear what you.
First of all, actually, after hearing what these guys have done, I feel I'm so blessed to be compared with this, and I think this is more than what I deserve actually. And you people are really inspiring everyone, and thank you so much for nominating me.
Right. So I think it's a real privilege. I mean, looking at what Akila's done and like comparing us to that. And I mean, it's just like, it's a real privilege to be a part of this. And like, I really thank like all of you guys, first of all, for hosting such an award and also giving us the opportunity to being nominated and possibly win.
First of all, I'm very privileged to be nominated for this particular award. The works that we are doing is in a way trying to bring and uplift India, where I see India as a leading solution provider of zero waste technologies, and we are youth, are the change makers of the society, and this COVID-19 has brought us together to start thinking about specifically waste and sustainability, and do something out of it. I think it's high time now we start acting and start executing things. So that's my message. And lastly, I always say that there is nothing useless in this world. What can be a waste to you is someone's asset.
Yeah, I think it's really encouraging for us. What we have been able to achieve, through this initiative is to just get stories and just amplify these stories of such positive work. And this is really, what should make headlines. Work like yours, Akila's, what these guys are doing, Dr. Desai is doing, and so many others. These are the kind of stories that need to make headlines. These are the kind of conversations I feel should, be making primetime news.
But I certainly think this is much better primetime news than the kind of primetime tamasha that we are being subjected to right now, being labeled as news. So +1 on that. But having said that, I think it's great to be nominated for an award like this. I think it's validation and acknowledgement at so many levels.
Thank you so much for boosting our confidence. Thank you so much for encouraging us. Thank you, ma'am.
So thank you so very much for speaking to us, and all the very, very best for all the work that you are doing. We hope that you win, but even if you don't, you are winners already. Thank you so much for helping us fight the COVID.